Introduction. This module introduces the meaning of the word Indigenous and the significance of studying history-related course the Philippine Indigenous People and Peace Process. It is of great importance to include the latter's historical developments and challenges in the higher education curriculum, for it needs to be introduced in the bigger community and be given more emphasis. It is in this way that they, member or not to the IP community, become aware that the key to achieve balance is knowing its own community and others as well. Definitions of Indigenous. Merriam Dictionary. Indigenous means produced, growing, living, or occurring natively or naturally in a particular region or environment. Cambridge Dictionary. Indigenous means naturally existing in a place or country rather than arriving from another place, existing naturally or having always lived in a place, native. Collins Dictionary. Indigenous means people or things belong to the country in which they are found, rather than coming there or being brought there from another country. A definition of indigenous peoples is stated in Article 1 of the International Labour Organization's Convention Concerning Indigenous and Tribal Peoples, ILO No. 169. This convention applies to people in independent countries who are regarded as indigenous on account of their descent from the populations which inhabited the country, or a geographical region to which the country belongs, at the time of conquest or colonization or the establishment of present state boundaries, and who, irrespective of their legal status, retain some or all of their own social, economic, cultural and political institutions. Other definition of indigenous peoples. The indigenous peoples view themselves as having a historical existence and identity that is separate and independent of the states now enveloping them. Lands located in a specific geographic area form a central element in their history and identity and are central regarding their contemporary political demands. The United Nations Permanent Forum on Indigenous Issues has developed an understanding of the term based on the following. Self-identification as indigenous peoples at the individual level and accepted by the community as their member. Historical continuity with pre-colonial and/or pre-settler societies. Strong link to territories and surrounding natural resources. Distinct social, economic or political systems. Distinct language, culture and beliefs. Form non-dominant groups of society. Resolve to maintain and reproduce their ancestral environments and systems as distinctive peoples and communities. Importance of studying the indigenous people. It helps us to grow our nationhood and provides a space for scholars and other intellectuals to reflect on the past, both our own traditions and the history of colonization, to find ways to forge a stronger future for our nations. The indigenous culture is an integral part of the Filipino society, but, unfortunately, people know nothing about it because they do not get the necessary education. It helps students or the society to get rid of all the wrong stereotypes they have about the native population of their own country. It is interesting how people tend to learn so much about foreign countries and exotic nations but forget to look around and see how exotic and exciting their own country and culture are. Studying IP communities, not only will you learn more about an unknown culture, you will discover an absolutely different point of view and a completely different way to perceive the world around you. Indigenous studies might be helpful for all of us because the culture of indigenous people is absolutely different and has nothing to do with our vision of this life. We all need not only to learn the history of the countries we live in, but also to experience different approaches to this life. Thus, we can become more understanding and tolerant people that do not see this world only in black and white colors. We can be better people for our society, the world community, if we keep in mind how different and beautiful each nation is. To summarize indigenous studies, it is a necessary part of achieving reconciliation, preserves indigenous cultures and promotes better citizenship. If students can develop the knowledge of why cultures are different, it will help develop empathy and encourage an appreciation for diversity, and hopefully, undermine growth of racist viewpoints, while simultaneously supporting the development of a more comprehensive appreciation of our humanity. Indigenous studies courses provide a space for scholars and other intellectuals to reflect on the past, both our own traditions and the history of colonization, to find ways to forge a stronger future for our nations. Mallory Whiteaduck, Aboriginal Cultural Liaison Officer, Carleton University. Thank you for watching and listening. For more questions and queries, please contact Mr. Glenn A. Kimson. Thank you.